Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the PKF Podcast. My name is Courtney Charlson. I work within the marketing team here at PKF. Today I'm joined by Derrek Lush, Principal Advisor around Strategy and Transformation, and Steve Skinner, Head of Digital Business Advisory for PKF Digital. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Very happy to be here once again.
Thank you. Thank you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about PKF Digital and a bit around the strategy and transformation side and how Steve and Derrek work together within the firm and the network. So I guess we'll start off with you, Steve. Can you tell me a little bit about PKF Digital and what you guys do?
Well, PKF Digital is part of a full-service global advisory firm. I just happen to sit on the digital side of PKF, which is fantastic. So what we do is really help solve some of the world's biggest challenges, business challenges. And of course, we deliver solutions to organisations, solutions and services. We predominantly focus on Oracle NetSuite and Microsoft Business Central, and also on the lower end of the scale, zero plus applications to really refine and optimise their environments. And of course, what we do is solve big challenges. We provide a value proposition to our clients, and hopefully they engage with us, and we deliver those services. And we really seek day in, day out relationships with our clients.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing, Steve. So I guess what I want to understand is I'd say there'd be a lot of common misconceptions around the, digital space and what that might look like for your clients. What does that sort of look like for you? What do you see in market?
Well, I suppose it's a very crowded market, I think. So what we've done is really taken a lot of that heartache away, because it is a very crowded market. There's lots of people sort of like claiming this and claiming that. I mean, artificial intelligence is on everyone's lips at the moment. But I sort of think what we try and do is we try and narrow that down and help try and educate the market. Because if you are embarking on a digital transformation, it's very much a journey. So you might want to get to there at some point into the future, but you might be down here. So we help navigate clients in terms of where they are today and where they need to be, and we set them on the right path. And so we've done a lot of the hard work for clients, we believe. So we've had a really good look at the market in terms of who are the real movers and shakers, and we believe that Oracle and NetSuite and Microsoft Business Central, and again Xero, are really leading that charge in terms of applications and artificial intelligence.
I'd be interested to see what you're seeing in market on the digital side of the house with PKF, in that we're delivering a lot of the strategy and transformation work for clients, and there's a lot of a perception out there in the market that we are accountants and at corporate level advisors around structure and governance, which we have done for a long time and do very well. But moving beyond that level of advice to operational strategy execution and delivering business transformations, it's quite a long journey to educate a lot of people and the market around the services we provide. Are you seeing the similar sort of challenges? I know the naming PKF Digital removes some of that, but does that also take people down a path?
Well, yeah, it does take people down a path. I always come back to the basic use of sort of like, your phone. Your phone in itself, your smartphone is a platform. Okay, and I can guarantee if you pull out your phone, I pulled out my phone, we'd have different applications on those devices. And the reason is because we use our phones very differently. You might play golf or you may not. I play golf all the time, so I've got a really nice golf app. It's basically built on the Apple iOS, right? And I know that app's going to work on that particular platform, and it may be integrated with some other tools, like even Facebook. So once I've finished my score, it automatically gets posted on Facebook by way of example. So I think there's a lot of myths out there. I think it's very different in today's world compared to the old on-premise days. A lot of businesses are still stuck on the old on-premise days, but all of our clients are really on exactly the same version of exactly the same application at exactly the same time. And clients are always looking, okay, well, if I've got this application, Well, what do I do next? What else do I load on my iPhone? And it's a very similar thing as well in terms of business applications. You know, if you do ERP first, well, what CRM do you need? What HCM system do you need? What supply chain management system? But you need to have a fully integrated environment. I'm
finding a lot of clients are starting at that connecting disparate systems as the initial driver for reaching out. You mentioned there, they've got the HCM, the SCM, the ERP, or even down at, not even at that platform level, always down at the tool level, where they might have a tool for payroll, another tool for rostering, another tool, and bringing those together. Where I'm seeing from the transformation piece, and it's where we often connect with the digital team, is let's modernise first. We need to connect all these things is where we want to get to, and yes, we do need to connect them, but let's take a step back. Let's modernise our operation and get ourselves away from the on-prem solutions and get ourselves off of spreadsheets, get ourselves into a more modern environment. Then we can connect, and then we can do the optimisation piece and really bring the analytics and start to deliver value. Do you see a similar pathway in the digital space to what we're seeing in the business space?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you raise a really good point there, because when you think about a typical business, there's different systems that all do different things, and they're very disparate. And often they're different types of databases, and often there's different types of data models across all those various applications. So one thing that we work really hard with our clients on is having what we call a unified data model. So it doesn't matter which application you're in, all that data needs to be unified. Now, once you've unified that data, then you can start reporting on that data. You can start doing, if you're looking at it from an accounting perspective, you might have operations, you might have different types of entities, you might have operations around the world. But how do you unify that data? How do you make that data available in real time? Okay. How do you make it available on real-time dashboards? How can you drive workflows? How can you get real-time insights so you can make decisions there on the spot straight away? So that's one thing we work very hard, is unifying that data.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Steve. And great questions for Steve, Derrek. Derrek, from your perspective, do you find that it's often clients or existing clients don't understand that there is the ability to be able to do the stuff that Steve does and implement that sort of stuff? Do you find that they don't know the possibility out there?
Yes, a lot of clients are not using the full capability of the systems that they have installed. And we get involved, and largely the first piece of work is defining what is the business problem that they're trying to solve, and what do they have currently installed that might be able to solve it. And many times, and just recently I've done an ERP re-implementation for a client where they believed that they needed a new ERP solution, and once we had a look, the reality was that the staff weren't using the solution to its full degree, and it was a training issue. We went through retraining and re-educating the workforce, and started removing old systems that were still being used and pull people onto the new system, and all of a sudden all the benefits started to be realised. And that's where they just weren't quite sure how to get to the full extent of what they wanted to achieve. And starting with that business problem is the first step. What business problem are you solving? And digital technology and digital solutions may well be the solution. It might not be. In this case, they had the digital solution that they needed, but the missing link was the training packages for the staff and the education of the staff. So we bring that, and then they can get the full benefit from the digital solutions.
What we try and do is, most clients don't know what they don't know, like anybody. Like, I don't know everything about everything. I like to think I do, but I don't, right? However, right, it reminds me of a story. I remember working for this big global software company back in the mid-90s, okay? It was turning over revenues of about 450 million US, so about 700 million Australian. And we were able to, and used to looking after IBM Korea, actually. And we used to be able to do a consolidation by Workday 4 every month. And I used to send a data file, right, on a black and green screen to the guys in the US, and they do a worldwide consolidation in 6 days. right? And I thought, and including an announcement to the market. So I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's incredible. Now, the reason they were able to do that is because they had even back then, they had a unified data model. So part of what we like to do is part of our proposition, really, on an advisory level, is to help clients achieve outcomes just like that. And it's even more possible today with these world-class applications that are available today. So what we help them is really doing that. Right, and those results can be achieved, and part of that is before you embark on a transformation, like if they select a system, is to educate them on what that system can actually do, because many implementations are you replicate the way you currently work in a brand new environment and go through all that investment and heartache but you don't actually end up with any improvement. So what we want to do is we want to drive improvement, we want to drive business outcomes, we want to create a value for that organisation, and of course we want to bring people along for that journey as well. So we like to think that we help people and their organisations become the best that they can be.
Great.
What we're discovering in the transformation or executing transformations for business is it's probably endemic of how easily people can access new platforms and technology, is that there are a multitude of systems and solutions being used that the business as a whole isn't aware of. Individuals have installed a new application and using it for a new purpose, and it hasn't been communicated across the team. And worst case, sometimes that means client data moves into an environment where it's not meant to and creates some real issues. Are you seeing that more frequently now in the digital space? We're seeing it a lot more within the advisory space, and there's some of the stuff that we're referring in here to bring digital in to help solve some of these solutions for clients. But you're probably seeing it far more broadly than we are.
Well, absolutely we do, and I get back to that unified data model again. So if you think about processing on a transaction, even a simple transaction, you think, well, what data are you actually capturing? Are you capturing just some of that data, or are you capturing all of it? And is all of that data relevant, or is it not? And if you think about the whole organisation, if that data is not consistent in terms of your, chart of account codes, or it could be a business unit code, it could be a location or a department or whatever, it doesn't really matter. If all that's inconsistent, you're not going to deliver the outcomes that client was expecting. Now, if you think about your master data record, right, and your transactional record, if those two things aren't in sync, you can't possibly apply artificial intelligence across that and get the benefits and leverage artificial intelligence. So we help clients do that, and so they can actually take advantage, if you like a stage 2, take advantage of artificial intelligence and all those benefits that artificial intelligence are bringing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. Derrek, from your perspective, what do you see, I guess, in clients these days that you understand and identify the need for someone like Steve and digital as an offering? What do you see, and how do you identify the need for that?
We first define that with the business requirements. We work through a strategy and identify what solutions or what problems they need to solve, and then once we've defined what the business requirements are, the user requirements, is then when we bring in the digital team, because they've got the depth of knowledge, the breadth and depth of knowledge and experience to know what solutions are out there that may fit the requirements. I mean, the consulting terminology is generally spec and select, where we specify what it is the client needs and needs from a system, and then you will come in and say, well, these are what the system's able to do. And most of the value, or immediate value, comes from being able to identify where those capabilities are out of the box or can be personalised out of the box rather than being customised. I've seen many clients look for bespoke solutions that really don't add huge amounts of value but consume enormous amounts of resources, both people and dollars, to deliver, whereas the expertise from the digital team can quickly get to the point of, well, if we change the business process here by a small amount, we can avoid all this rework and development, and that's where we bring the digital team in as early as possible, as opposed to trying to deliver a software solution. It's trying to better solve a business problem.
So I suppose the key message there is if you think about sort of like the people in the mix, right? This is the benefit of being involved with a full service global professional services firm like PKF. When you think about it, we're delivering business solutions, and who better to provide business solutions than a full service advisory firm? So if you think about our clients, if you think about PKF, and if you think about PKF Digital, we are way better together. All right, so we very much work as a collaborative team where we, as I said earlier, right, we effectively become an extension of the client team. Back in the day, I remember when sort of being a former CFO and doing an enormous number of transformations back in the day, I remember doing one particular implementation where for a tier 2 telecommunication company during sort of like what they used to call Y2K, and everyone was sort of like nervous about what was going to happen around the year 2000 with dates and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we spent about $6 million implementing an ERP. All right, so consultants had come in, they'd design an application, they'd all be locked in a room, young graduates who didn't really have a clue about what was going on, and then they came out of that room 6 months later and gave us the key to the new system. But it was all built from the ground up. Today, with modern applications like Oracle, NetSuite and Microsoft Business Central, it's all around just the design and configuration. So you almost checking boxes. Think about how you design and configure your own applications on your mobile device. So there was no coding, there was no customizations. Well, there is none now, but it's about personalizations now, right? So think about how you configure your Facebook account. It's the same. You check a few boxes and you know what that box does. It's the same thing today. So it's much easier than it once was. So it's very different in today's world, and I don't think it's a bit of a myth. Everyone thinks an ERP it's exactly like it was 20 years ago. It really is vastly different.
I think that's another point where we bring the digital team is we come across clients that are almost software shopping. We need a new ERP. What's out there? So okay, do you need a new ERP? Is it just an ERP? What are the modules? What are the functions you're trying to replace, or what functions do you perform that you need to replace with the technology solution? And that's where bringing the digital team in to identify how do we structure this to get to the solution rather than what piece of software do you need. Yes, software will likely be part of the solution, but it shouldn't be the focus.
How do you manage the change management piece around these software implementations, both from your perspective but also your perspective, Steve?
Well, what I do, if there's sort of like, we work with some big clients as well, right? They're not all in the mid-sized space, right? So I rely on Derrek, right? Derrek is an expert around change management. So I think we work really well together. I mean, we've got some very happy joint clients, I know that. So, Derrek is very good at sort of like articulating strategy, all right? So based on that strategy, I always like to think of sort of like any transformation as governance, people, process, and systems, right? So it's all encompassing. So Derrek works really well with clients on the strategy piece. In other words, really, what are you trying to do, and helps them flesh out ideas. And then, of course, the change management piece. So we typically do the design and the configuration of the applications that best meets a client's requirements. And we work very closely together to make sure that there's a nice, harmonious project from a client perspective. It's all about the client experience, really, at the end of the day. And that's what we do.
Managing that change management, the key starts with purpose, and not in an external purpose perspective, but from why are we undertaking this change level of purpose, that we need the business to become more efficient, or we need to generate more capacity, or the system's ageing and it needs to be replaced by a particular time. We need to remain relevant in market, that level of purpose. Then the method is that this is how we're going to go about it, but then the end state, what does success look like? And communicating that amongst the team. Where we work really well with digital is understanding what level of change is coming, how much capacity is required to deliver that change, and then generating that capacity before we start. Is generate the capacity and capability for change before we get moving, and then we get into the transformation piece, because too many transformations have failed in delivery because you get a long way down the path and then you run out of either capability or capacity to consume the change. need to get that right in the front end.
It's like a relationship, isn't it? We are in a relationship with our clients. We don't walk in front of our clients, we don't walk behind them, we will walk beside them hand in hand. And I think that's really an important point. And again, too, it's just trying to help just clients on what that journey could look like for them, right? I mean, business, when you think about, given the amount of change in this world, it's almost like a never-ending journey, a transformation, right? So if you want to end up roughly here, so I know I'm going over old ground a little bit, if you want to end up roughly here and you're here today, we help clients navigate that change, all right? And put a clear sort of like process in place on how we can help them best achieve that. And at the end of the day, it's all about people. This is where Derrek comes in from a change management perspective, right? How can you bring people along for that journey as well, right? Because at the end of the day, it's people who are executing on strategy, all right? So that's a very important point too.
To touch back on your example before around the Y2K and the solution that was built and then just handed over, that's what we work on avoiding, is that the client is just handed something that they then need to go and deal with without any training, any preparation or any guidance. We might develop the solution that becomes to be implemented, but we make sure that it's embedded in business as usual, and the client then can move on and operate without having to lean on us all the time. We're here if you need us, but the intent is to have you built up and ready and good to go on your own without having to come back to us every second of every day to make sure something happens. End of month happens without us having to be involved. But if you need that extra support, we're here if you need us.
I mean, just to mention how people feel as well, right? I mean, I think, if you're a board member, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a CEO or a CFO or whatever, I mean, imagine being responsible for giving your people in your business world-class tools so they can do their jobs more effectively. I mean, imagine how good they feel. All right, they're more inspired. They become happier staff members, right? They stay a lot longer. They're more sort of aligned to what the organisation is trying to achieve from a strategic perspective. And it just, with artificial intelligence and with world-class tools these days, a lot of the routine, mundane, boring stuff happens automatically. So you're managing your work effectively by dashboards, right? And through workflows. So you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs about what to do anymore. The system is actually driving your next activity in terms of what task you have to do next in a fully visible, transparent sort of a way. So we like to think we really like, my personal tagline really is making the working lives of humans extraordinary.
So guys, thank you so much. Before we wrap up today, I just want to, get an understanding from both of you, but Steve, you first. What would you say to potential clients that are considering, a newer ERP or new systems to implement? What would be your advice to them?
My advice would be just to get started, I think. And if you don't know where to start, just reach out and give me a call. Like, the worst thing that can happen is we just get to have a good conversation. I get to meet somebody else who's probably an amazing person who might have some challenges. And I can help you sort of like just flesh out a few ideas that I'm sure can be helpful. I mean, I've done this a lot of times over many years, so it's something that I'm really passionate about and just enjoy doing. So just reach out and say g'day, and let's get you started.
I'd say start with why. Why are you considering it? What's the driving force behind it? Is it a direction that's been given to you? Are you seeing inefficiencies? And there might be reasons that you're not aware of. So reach out, let's have a conversation, and we'll explore why. And then that will lead us down the best path.
Well, Derrek, Steve, thank you so much to both of you for joining us today. Very much appreciate your time. And thank you everyone today for listening and watching the latest episode of the podcast. We'll have Derrek and Steve's contact details towards the end of the episode, so feel free to get in touch. Thank you.